Greetings. This is Reginald, also known as a brother teacher. Have you ever experienced loneliness because of who you were and what you represented? That's the question I'm curious about today. Quite frankly, I think most of us can attest to the fact that we've been lonely at some point or another in our lives or throughout our lives. However, that's not the loneliness I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being in and out of love and infatuation and childhood puppy love and that type of thing. I'm talking about a loneliness because you have certain standards in your life and it feels as though you're walking that straight and narrow road alone without oftentimes family support, even friends, even just the general public, so to speak. For example, when I was a child, and I'm sure that many of you can attest to this, we were always told as children to never tell a lie. You know, it's wrong to tell a lie, little Joey. God doesn't like children or people that lie. Didn't you tell your child that? Or weren't you told that by your parents? I remember specifically when my brother and I were coming up, my mother would say to us, if you ever do anything wrong, don't ever lie to me. I'd rather you tell me the truth and it hurt me than for you to lie. Those were my mother's exact words to my brother and I. And I have followed that same method, if you will, throughout my life and my children and rearing them and raising them up. Don't tell me a lie. Tell me the truth because God, Yahweh, doesn't like liars. That is clearly stated in the commandments. In the 20th chapter of Exodus, that's one of the commandments, thou shalt not lie. Now, if that is the truth, and even in our society today and for many, many hundreds of years in our court or judicial system, they can penalize you even to the point of imprisonment for lying under oath. So if you were told that in your childhood rearing up, and even society says that when you go into the court or judicial system, not to tell a lie, to tell the truth, because the court systems are supposed to be predicated on the truth, supposed to be, then why is it so hard that when the people, the citizens that live in our country called America, that when you stand up for the truth, it is met with such aggression and hypocrisy? So I'm lonely today. It didn't just happen today. I've experienced this existential loneliness for quite a while, many years. I've grown accustomed to it. It doesn't feel good, but I've grown accustomed to it. And that is to say, when you stand for something that is true, when you stand for something that is based in solid science, solid spiritual truth, if you will, if it's based on anything that is right, you will always be met with opposition. And I'm not talking about minuscule. I'm talking about, generally speaking, the masses or the majority of the people will meet you with opposition, with aggression, with anger, and even hate for telling the truth. Have you ever been there? Can you relate to what I'm saying to you today? I want to encourage any and every person that's listening to this video today that you should always believe in something so strong, so fervently, and have conviction for the same, that you would be willing to die for that same belief. We have an allegiance to a flag in our country, in America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. And it goes on. But do we actually follow the tenets of that pledge? We don't. As Americans, we don't follow that. That is basically a routine. It is basically a tradition. But our country is so far removed from that ideology. We don't even follow the organic federal constitution for the United States. Everything that I'm telling you right now is in the public domain. It's in public record. It is a matter of public record. All you need to do is your own due diligence and look it up. I'm not going to sit here and point it out to you line upon line and page upon page. If you really care, you'll do it. I have many videos prior to this. If you look up my name, Reginald Stroud, I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to gain by telling you the truth. So my question to you is, how much do you believe and subscribe to the truth? Whatever the truth is. Now, in this particular instance, I pointed out our government, our judicial system. I have witnessed, I have seen videos where individuals have been in court and they have brought up constitutional law. They have brought up case law, and the judges, through a point of intimidation, threatened them with contempt and told them oftentimes, if you repeat the Constitution again, you're going to jail. In a country that is supposed to be observing the organic federal Constitution of 1789, that should never be allowed. So what does that say to us? Doesn't it speak loudly to you that we're not following the Constitution? I'm not talking about individuals in our society. I'm talking about the system that said to us many years ago, this is one nation under God. The system that says that we are the people. We are the framers of the law. And that our forefathers set it in place to protect our unalienable rights to be trodden upon. But that is not what's happening today. You have seen and witnessed, I'm sure, the so-called conscious community standing up for their rights, utilizing case law, UCC or Uniform Commercial Code and state statutes, and making motions in church and, in court and so forth in defense of their constitutional rights. You've seen that, I'm sure. And if you have not, you're doing yourself a disservice to keep blinders on and act as though it doesn't exist, because our court/judicial system is being challenged every day because the people are waking up, and most of us feel lonely. We feel lonely oftentimes because we have done the footwork. We have turned the law pages open. We've looked in Black's Law Dictionary and found out the real meaning of words, and we understand the legalese language that's being used against us, citizens, so-called citizens, to our detriment. We've come to realize that our government is not what it appears to be, and that it is not for the people, but it is against the people. Am I an anarchist? No, sir. No, ma'am. Am I against our government? No, I'm not. I am against the practices of our government, because they sold the American people under the bus a long time ago. And some of us are too naive to know it. So Jesus, Yeshua, was a lonely man. He came to this earth for a purpose. I subscribe to this because this is my personal belief. There are other people who believe in Prophet Muhammad and so on. I do not dispute anything. I'm just telling you what I believe. But he came here to this earth in the form of a man, preaching the gospel, preaching the kingdom of God. And he was ridiculed, he was scorned, he was beaten, and he was ultimately crucified. And he was never found guilty of committing any crime. But just because he told the truth, the power structure that existed at that time was not going to have it, because it compromised their position. So they had to get rid of him. Fast forward thousands of years later, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. telling the truth, trying to be included in America instead of excluded as a black person or as a black group of people, and to see us all as one family, the human family. He was executed because of that. Malcolm X was another one, telling the truth. Dr. Khalid Muhammad was another one. Regardless of what the news says about him having an allergic reaction, Marcus Garvey was another one. There have been many, many people who have fallen too young to die because they represented something that mattered to the people. Even oftentimes the people didn't want to accept them because it compromised their comfort at that particular time. Sometimes the people that are your enemies are the people closest to you. Anyway, these individuals that I just mentioned were lonely people. Not lonely from the standpoint of they had a disdain or an hatred for what they represented. It's because not as many people wanted to accept the truth that was being so freely given to them. You don't have to pay for the truth. It is what it is. But the truth is light, and the truth exposes that which is in the dark. And when that which is in the dark is exposed, it brings about a different light. And then people become aware. And the powers that be don't want you to be aware. In some sense, we are living in a matrix. What appears to be reality, but there's a second reality governing this appearance, as it were. Am I lonely? I have an existential loneliness. I wish and I believe and I hope that there would be more people who would understand that when you try to impart to them something that can deliver them from their present state of despair, from their present state of lack of self-esteem, their present state of oppression, and they just don't get it. Some of them just don't want to get it, even when the evidence is clear. They turn a deaf ear because they rather keep the privileges that were given to them by the white supremacists, as opposed to maintaining a stance for the freedom and the natural rights that God, Yahweh, the Creator, has given to all men. I would rather have my rights, my natural born rights that were given to me by the Creator, than to have some man stride on those rights and give me his interpretation of what I deserve in terms of freedom by giving me a privilege. We don't have a privilege from God. We have rights. And those rights have been stifled. They've been taken from us and replaced with something else to accommodate them. So am I lonely? Yes, I'm lonely because I yearn within my soul for those people that are lost and that are trying to find a better way. For those people who have been oppressed and feel depressed and recessed even, can't come out of their situation because it was designed that way. Are afraid of retribution, retaliation if they speak out for their rights. You have to learn to speak to power. Speak the truth to power. But don't forget, freedom has never been free. When you speak truth to power, they're going to come and see about you. Because it's okay if it's one or two in a barbershop, in the basement, speaking the truth amongst themselves. But when you rally together and you start a movement, they, the oppressors, set forth a movement of their own to remove you. This is Reginald, also known as Brother Teacher. Are you lonely today because you want others to hear the truth that you have and they won't? Don't stop delivering the truth. I learned a long time ago that if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Yahweh love you, and I love you. You have a blessed one. See you in the next video.